You know, the problem is that most people don't realize that Bob Dylan is writing poetry. And there's a difference between poetry and prose. Poetry requires more interaction with the words. Prose, it's just, plain and simple. And the more concise it is, the better. With poetry, the more ambiguous it is, the more interesting it is. Now, people who can't really get into Dylan's poetry label it as just, being spontaneously generated words that really have no underlying meaning. And that's just not the case. See, I never underestimated Dylan. As Dylan told me years and years ago, if you don't underestimate me, I won't underestimate you. So, you've got, it took me years and years to understand Dylan's poetry, and it was not what I expected. In fact, it was so far from what's expected of Bob Dylan that no one believes it. It's like saying the earth was flat. It was, everybody believed the earth was flat. Anyone who said the earth was round, hey, they're out of their mind. Yet the earth is round. The trouble with the Dylan, why it took me so long to understand Dylan's poetry was I was looking at it from a left-wing perspective. I believed that Dylan was a left-winger who had sold out his beliefs in order to become rich and famous, when that really wasn't the case. He was a right-winger from the start. Not only a right-winger, he's a neo-Confederate. Of course, this guy, Ray Gucci, who he was living with, was a great influence on him, even though Gooch himself was a fucking sleaze, a sleazebag, dope peddler, meth peddler. He was notorious in the West Village, where I lived in 1965, at 146 Sullivan. In any event, he grew up in Minnesota, which has the largest German population, and very few blacks. When he came to New York City, all of this stuff was just anathema to him. But he couldn't go and write a song, the niggers are being lynched and they're blowing in the wind. So what he did was put sub-content into his songs. Even songs like Blowing in the Wind, which became the anthem of the civil rights movement. How could it be? How could something like this be? It's impossible. Most people, you cannot conceive of someone embedding racist terms within a song that became such symbolic of anti-racist thinking. Does Dylan deserve the Nobel Prize for pulling this hoax off like this? If I had a Nobel Prize for racist poetry, I think Dylan would really win, hands down. But he got what he deserved. Somewhere along the line, Allah is great and came down on his case and put him through a lot of changes. Because I was fooled, just like Kingfish fooled Andy. I came around to that lodge hall on Houston Street, Houston and Sullivan. And old Kingfish, Bob Kingfish Dylan, He pulled one on old Andy Weberman. Yes, sir, he sure did. So, you know, like a voice in the fucking wilderness here. You know, tell you, how many roads must a man walk down before you call him a man? How many courses in life, like what road you take in life, must a black man walk down before you call him a man, before you portray him as Hollywood did for many, many years, as a servant, as a man Friday? And how many years must a white dove sail? Okay, you ever see a black dove? No. A white dove is white supremacy. Sail, come moving easily before she sleeps in the sand, before she becomes part of American history, the sands of time. And how many times must a cannonball fly? And how many times must black people fly off the handle before they're forever banned, before they're treated the same way as they are in South Africa under apartheid? Banned meant if you were in the ANC, you'd get banned, and it's a form of house arrest, basically. Your social contacts would be limited. You wouldn't be allowed to communicate. The answer, my friend, is blowing in the wind. The answer is to lynch blacks. This is a variation of Billie Holiday's Strange Fruit, bodies swinging in the southern breeze. The answer is blowing in the wind. Or take this from Rolling Stone. You used to ride on the chrome horse with your diplomat. You used to have diplomatic relations with South Africa. Chrome is South Africa's biggest export. Who carried on his shoulder the white man's burden, who had a burden of having to raise up the black race, a Siamese cat, something very similar to the blacks that we have to raise up here in America. Ain't it hard when you discovered that? Wasn't it hard for you to rationalize your belief when you realized he really wasn't where it's at, that apartheid is not the way to go, segregation is not the way to go? After he took from you everything he can steal, after he based apartheid on Jim Crow that originated in America. How does it feel to be a Rolling Stone? How does it feel to be part of the silent majority? A complete unknown, like a Rolling Stone. Very interesting. Very interesting stuff. Or please crawl out your window. He sits in your room, his tomb with his fistful of tacks. It's the federal government, preoccupied with his vengeance. Or cursing the dead who can't answer him back. Cursing the war dead who can't complain. You know that he has no intentions of looking your way unless it's to say he needs you to test his dimensions, unless he needs you to go out, unless he needs white people to go out and fight another war. Please crawl out your window. Please get out of your Democratic Party. Use your hands and legs. Use the primaries, first leg of an election. It won't haunt you. How can you say it will haunt you? You can go back to them anytime you want to. How can you say, that the new deals made under the Roosevelt administration will haunt you? Will come out like ghosts in the past. You can go back to them anytime you want to. You can return to these economic reforms anytime you want to. He looks so righteous while your face is so changed. The federal government looks like it's doing the right thing while your race is being changed. As you sit on the box you keep him in. As you don't do anything with your ballot, with your right to vote for people like George Wallace or George Lincoln Rockwell or whoever Dylan has in mind. While his genocide fools, while the genocide politicians and his friends, the genocide politicians, fools his politicians, fools Jefferson turning over in his grave, fools, determining how we behave, one of Dylan's songs, something like that. You know, while there's genocide fools, while the politicians that want to commit genocide against the white race and their friends rearrange and their allies in the judiciary rearrange, totally change the religion of the little 10 women, the Supreme Court decisions of the less than 9 justices that backs up their views with decisions like Brown versus Board of Education, but your face is so bruised, but your race is turning black. Come on out, the dark is just beginning. Come on out, the darkies are just beginning to take over. You know, this is a recurrent fucking theme throughout Bob Dylan's poetry, okay? It does not just exist in one poem. And you see other ones, like I was thinking about gold. I was thinking about diamonds. I was thinking about turquoise. These are all exports of South Africa and the world's biggest necklace. Necklace is where the ANC people would put a tire on an informant and light the tire on fire. Kind of, you know, not a good way to die, that's for sure. So, that's my story. I know I have the fucking truth. You know, I see it over and over again. But nobody wants to fucking believe it. The liberal media, they don't want to turn Dylan into a fucking racist. They'd rather just keep him where he is, you know, as a liberal icon. And, you know, the Dylan fans, forget it. They don't want to know that they've been fucking conned because they're a liberal lot, most of them. So what do you got, you know? You got A.J. Weberman stalemated, even though I have the fucking truth, you know, without this, you know, beyond any doubt. And if you read Chronicles, you see he praises David Duke, praises Hitler, you know, he's other songs tell you he's a Holocaust revisionist, you know. This guy is fucking scum, you know. If anybody deserved to get fucking AIDS, it's him. I'll tell you. You know? And he got it. He fucking got it. Fucking sickening. How did I ever fucking, you know, I just got caught up in this whole fucking yippee, zippy, hippie trip. And Dylan was a big part of it, you know? He wasn't always like this. Not in the least. Not when I knew him. I was the one that was fucking crazy back then.